And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I am filming this at 4 o'clock in the morning. My plan was to kind of film this earlier, maybe on the field. But I had a lot. Me and Jeremiah had a lot of work to do, and I also wanted Jeremiah to get some sleep because he's a college student at UNC. I'm not. College for chumps, and that's why I graduated. That's my saying for anything in regard. I joke with that to Jeremiah all the time. It's like, I'm glad I graduated because I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. The only thing I got to worry about is turning this stuff on time, right? And that's exactly what I'm doing. But anyway, for you guys who are kind of tuning in for the first time, my name is Grant Chachere. I am the host of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast and also the lead beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. We got a lot of content from this game. A lot of it's negative, and a lot more is going to come throughout the next week. The Tar Heels are on a short week as their next game will be against Charlotte on Saturday. And I'm not sure you guys probably saw the game, but it was an absolute disaster. 48-14. The Horned Frogs basically put belt to ass on the Tar Heels. I mean, that's really what it was. That's the best way I can describe it. And it was just a bad showing from a team we thought was going to be better. But then again, I also said this too. Like, one of the things I says, this is a mysterious team. And that's because of all the new players that were added. UNC had 70 new players added to its roster, 40 of which have come after the spring. And one of the biggest fears was, can this team have chemistry, especially when 40 new players joined literally about a month ago? Or maybe not even a month ago, because of course these guys were here throughout the summer. Of course, Gio Lopez was here throughout the summer, but yeah, it's just what you saw out there was a TCU team that got out, was outmanned, out physicaled, out coached, because it was very clear that they got out coached. But not only that, you saw an experienced TCU team that has been playing with each other for a very long time. You saw a team like UNC, they didn't pull guys off the street, but because the amount of guys they added, I mean, it was basically like they just pulled guys off the street. I'm not saying that they're not untalented or anything like that, but that's the amount of people they've added on this team. To even get to the amount you wanted, you had to find guys from everywhere. And I don't blame Bill for doing that. I mean, look, Colorado did the same thing under Deion Sanders, right? And really, Deion's not even the only example. There's been a lot of coaches who've taken over program and basically, ran people out of town. I mean, look, it's not the only one. I mean, college football is basically free agency now, right? Coaches can make their own decisions too, which is why I don't mind players when they transfer to go find a better opportunity, because nowadays coaches can say, hey, you should probably transfer. That's how it is in today's college athletics. But not even just, but it was embarrassing, right? And I'm not even an UNC fan, right? I didn't go to UNC. This is my first time living in North Carolina, right? I mean, I've visited before. I got grandparents have retired out here, out in Wilmington, but I've only lived in North Carolina for a month, and one of the things I've kind of picked up on was, of course, it's the basketball town. I mean, town, and everyone knows that. But the lack of focus on football, right? Because UNC football does have a good bit of history that hasn't really been gotten talked about, probably up until Bill Belichick got here, right? I mean, that's been one of the main themes about Belichick's tenure here, is that he's him and Michael Lombardi have made it a mission to kind of promote the history of North Carolina football, which does have a decent history. Don't get me wrong, it does have a decent history. But not only that, whenever North Carolina gets in these big time situations and they have a primetime game, that is usually when they mess up. And I've heard that from and really one of the biggest people that said this to me was Andrew Jones, of course, of Tar Heels 24/7. He's covered this team forever, and he's always told me like one of the things about North Carolina is that like they'll look good for any other game, but when there's a primetime game, everything just falls off the rails. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, like we've discussed that this was the most highly anticipated game in UNC's history. And they laid a giant egg, a humongous egg. And also one of the things that really got me going was like, they've really built this whole thing. Well, we want to be tough, smart, and dependable, building this mantra that we're disciplined and all that type of stuff. They had 3 turnovers in the game, 2 of which got returned for a touchdown. And on top of that, if you looked on defense, they couldn't tackle. There were missed tackles all over the place. There had to be at least 40 to 45 missed tackles today. I'm not even joking. I can't wait for these PFF grades to come out because you'll really get to see the full picture in that game. I mean, my God, it was terrible. And so they didn't play like the Belichick way. They didn't play physical football. They were undisciplined. They were missing tackles. They're having all kinds of turnovers. They looked undisciplined. They looked like, I don't know, the Carolina Panthers. They looked like a bad football team. They played bad football, and TCU played great football, which is why they won. TCU's a good team. TCU I think, is a sleeper to make the playoff. I was on, I'm not sure if I mentioned that I went on a radio show in Vermont, but I don't think I mentioned that I said TCU, I thought TCU and North Carolina, the winner of this game, was a sleeper to go to the playoff. I truly believe that. TCU is a very experienced team. They have a good bit of pieces coming back, and they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. On UNC side, if they win this game, this is a confidence booster. Not only that, the rest of your schedule is relative. I won't say easy, right? But you don't play Georgia Tech, you don't play Louisville, you don't play Miami, you don't play Florida State. I mean, you don't play SMU. The toughest team you have to play from the ACC, well, make that 2, because it's Clemson, obviously, and then Duke. I've said, I think Duke's a very good team. Like Duke and Georgia Tech, to me, are the 2 kind of sleeper teams that could be in the ACC championship in Charlotte. Duke got an upgrade in quarterback, right? Darian Mintz is a very good quarterback. I'm very familiar with him, with his game and everything, because he was at Tulane, and I was also in New Orleans when all that stuff was happening. He's a very good quarterback, and of course, we know how great Clemson is. They've won 9 of the last 11 ACC championships. Okay, so so those are the 2 toughest games. But the rest were really winnable games. And as we can tell tonight, UNC is definitely not a playoff team. I can tell you that right now. Bad football. And to kind of put this in perspective, UNC was outgained 542 to 222. That's 320 yards different. That's a 220-yard difference. And this is the most glaring thing. TCU ran for 258 yards to UNC's 50. UNC only gained less than 2 yards per game. They averaged 1.8 yards per rush. They even have an average of 2 yards a carry. That's bad. And not only that, what makes it even more embarrassing, which goes back to the defense, because the defense looked awful all throughout the game. That was the first time TCU had ran for over 200 yards since September 16th, 2023, when they beat Houston 36-13, and they ran for exactly 250 yards. That was the last time they ran for 200 yards. It was nearly the exact same amount of yards they ran the last time they ran for 200 yards. And a lot of that was because of broken tackles. I mean, it was so bad. Matter of fact, the 2 rushing touchdowns they had, which were one of 75 yards, which was by Kavorian Barnes, and Trent Battle, who ran for a 28-yard touchdown, they were untouched. Kavorian Barnes ran for a 75-yard touchdown untouched. And then Trent Battle, by the way, that 28-yard touchdown run he had, I believe it was in the 3rd quarter. That was his only rush of the game. That was his only rush of the game. I mean, it was just bad football. And by the way, Kavorian Barnes, by the way, ran for 221 yards last season. And I think a lot of that was because of injuries. I know he had a down year. Um, and he's already ran for half of that off of tonight. I mean, just bad football. Also, TCU averaged 7.4 yards per carry. Just bad. North Carolina looked bad. All we've heard about, is how disciplined Bill Belichick is, and you've also heard that from me too. I'm not excusing myself here. But that's just bad football. That's what that is. Just bad football. And I was rewatching the game on the ESPN app because I can't fall asleep. The commentators weren't even sugarcoating. It was a butt kicking. It was a butt whooping. TCU put belt to butt. That's exactly what they did. UNC made it look easy. TCU did what they had to do because they're a great team. Some could give them all the credit in the world. But UNC also made it easy for them too. It was just terrible football. And so let's go through a game. Let's go through the game recap. I don't know if you guys want to hear, but let's go through it pretty quickly. So in the first quarter, UNC gets the ball first, right? And they have a very effective drive. They're running the ball pretty well, and that allowed UNC to have open up their play action pass game. And the first pass they had was a 39-yard pass to Jordan Shipp. Jordan Shipp kind of ran like a corner route, I guess you could say, because he caught near the corner of the sideline. And it was a great ball thrown by Gio Lopez. Great ball, great play action fake. Found Jordan Shipp wide open for 39 yards. Next play, OPO pass play of 19 yards to Jordan Shipp. Perfectly executed. It's great. And then, of course, the next play, Caleb Hood runs for an 8-yard touchdown. UNC takes a 7-0 lead. Keeney State goes crazy, blah, blah, blah. And in those formations, they used different formations. They used one back. They had a one back pro style formation with Gio under center. They ran shotgun spread. And then, of course, they ran the pistol. Then they stopped TCU, which is huge because, the more you stop TCU and the more you can keep scoring, that's huge because you want to get them off the field. However, UNC, they get the ball. However, false start by Aiden Buchanan, who's a freshman. First play of the drive, so that's inexcusable. Then you have a 0-yard gain by Davian Gauze, and then Gio Lopez got sacked by Zach Chapman for 8 yards. And, of course, third and very long, UNC went conservative, got a 2-yard rush, drive ended. Then TCU, of course, drove down the field, tied the game up after a 6-play, 58-yard drive that was capped off by a 27-yard touchdown pass from Josh Hoover to Jordan Dwyer. There was a questionable pass interference that happened, but that's here, near, there because I don't think it mattered over time because, of course, UNC got their butt kicked, right? So that's basically the end of the first quarter. And really this is where all the issues started happening was early in the second quarter. North Carolina wasn't wrapping up well. They weren't finishing the play. It was just bad. And then they had a huge offensive PI in the red zone. And TCU seemed like they were, and even with the offensive PI, TCU had a couple good passing plays to kind of get them into distance. And however, Coleman Bryson made a huge pass breakup at the corner of the end zone. And that led to TCU taking the field goal. They took a 10-7 lead after Kyle Lemmerman's field goal, right? 10-7. And then UNC got the ball back. Okay, they slowed him down. They forced him to field goal. Okay, time to get moving. However, incomplete pass, a negative 3-yard rush by Gio Lopez. because the offensive line could not block. And of course, you went for the conservative third down run play, third and long. Then TCU got back in, got back. They got the ball back. They had a nice 21-yard catch by Jordan Dwyer. There was a lot of mixed tackles, a lot of missed opportunities to get a sack. But they were able to get pressure on the third down, and Josh Hoover tried to throw a screen pass, but because of the pressure, he threw a little bit too high for Jordan Bailey, the receiver for TCU, tipped up in the air. Then UNC got the interception. So yeah, I mean there's that. And then Caleb Cost is the one that got the interception. However, 2 plays later, Gio Lopez threw a pick six, but Clark read it nicely and scores out 17-7. Then UNC got the ball back, had a chance to kind of race it, but Ben Hall had a 10-yard rush. That was a first down rush. That was the first down they had since the opening drive. And then a bad snap of third down. And then you had a bad snap of the punt that nearly got blocked. Just a bad drive for UNC all around. By the way, I think the next 3 drives UNC had, which was about 10 plays, negative 10 yards. Yeah. And also, by the way, midway through the third quarter, since UNC's opening drive, TCU had outgained UNC 417 yards to 25. Yeah, bad all around. TCU was able to take a 27 the lead after TCU got the ball back. They were able to kick a field goal in the dying seconds of the first half. Then TCU got the ball back. Then Kavali Barnes, of course, ran for the 75-yard touchdown run to open the quarter, 27-7. I mean, yeah, it was really just all TCU at this point. I mean, of course, we're going to talk about the Trent Battle touchdown run. Oh, and then Gio Lopez, he had a strip sack, fumbled it, and then Devon Deal had a scoop and score. I think it was 32 yards. Just a bad. Oh, by the way, and also Gio Lopez got hurt too. So his status for Charlie is questionable, which means Max Johnson will step in. And the next drive, speaking of Max Johnson stepped in for Gio Lopez, 7 for 8 for 81 yards, and then, of course, finished off the drive with the touchdown pass to his brother. And I really think at this point, it's not even worth mentioning the rest of the game because just bad tackling, missed tackles, outcoached. Just they got out everything. If there's a word that can go next to the word out, exactly the way you could describe it. I mean, it's just bad football. It was bad football. Bad football. Horrible football. Like it was just bad football. And it didn't shock me that the offense struggled because I had a lot of questions about Freddie Kitchens, the offensive coordinator, just because of his time with the Browns and the Giants as a play caller. I never really thought he was a great play caller. And you showed tonight there was 0 adjustments. And actually, to be honest with you, there were more jersey changes, like jersey number changes in the middle of the game than actual adjustments from the coaches. Like, it was bad. It was bad, man. Bad. Right? And then, I knew it was going to happen to Freddie Kitchens. I knew the offense because I'm not really a big Freddie Kitchens guy. I'm just not. I have a lot. That was my biggest. Really, a lot of my question marks to the offense. I thought the defense was going to be fine. Well, it turns out the defense ain't fine either. Oh my god! I mean, bad tackling. I mean, they can't cover the pass. They can't stop the run. They can't do diddly poo. I mean, it was horrible. And, I always thought Stephen Belichick's a great play caller. I'm not saying he isn't. Obviously, things could change. It's still a long season, but, man, that was just bad. It's bad to watch. What makes it even funny is that the students stayed a good bit. They stayed until midway through the third quarter, and then once TCU went up 34-7, that's when they started piling out. And I mean, shoot, the team gave up before the students did. I mean, if to be honest with you, man, just a bad football game. Just a not a great way for the Belichick era to start. And you really start to have to question yourself: can this team even be bowl eligible? I'm being serious, man. It's just they don't look good. I will say this: I'll say there's two. If there's two bright spots I have to say about this game, Max Johnson and Jordan Shipp. Jordan Shipp truly looked like he was the number one receiver. And that was a big thing for me. Is like which receiver would emerge as the number one. It seems like it's Jordan Shipp. Four catches for 84 yards. He did not get a touchdown, but I mean he averaged 21 yards per catch. That's pretty good. And he had 22 yards after the catch. I mean, he had a great game, man. I mean, really, and Javarius Green, him too. He had three catches for 57 yards. Somebody you need to watch out for, maybe, because he had a good night too. 4 targets and 30 for more catches. That's pretty good, man. And also, you got to mention Max Johnson. Finished with 9 for 11 with 103 yards and a touchdown. And really, to be honest with you, I was saying this after the game. I was talking to Jeremiah, talking to Noah Weiskopf, and different people. And one of the things I've noticed too is that this offense really is meant more for Max Johnson. It seemed like I know is the situation. I know UNC's game blown out by the time Max Johnson got in, but it just seemed like UNC was much more in rhythm with Max Johnson than Gio Lopez. I'm not saying Gio Lopez is a bad quarterback. I mean, of course, he didn't really have a great game. 4 for 10 with a touchdown, 69 yards and a touchdown. But my thing is that I think Gio Lopez, the way he plays football, the way he plays the quarterback position, is not built for the Brown, or not for the Browns, for the Tar Heels. I just don't think the offense fits them because of the way they play. Max Johnson is more of your traditional pro-style quarterback than Gio Lopez is. Right? And that's just clearly what it looked like. I feel like that's why Max had a much better game than Gio. I really do believe that. And oh boy. It's bad football, man. Bad football. Mm. Yeah, I'm just gonna go to bed. It was just a bad game, man. And it's funny because I've mentioned Noah's Weiskopf. Noah's Weiskopf, of course, is the new beat writer for Tar Heels 24/7. But we've kind of hit off. We've become pretty close colleagues. I won't say close, but we've been pretty good colleagues because we're both new here. Of course, I covered LSU, went to LSU. He went to Ohio State and wrote for the student newspaper. And this is his first full-time job. So we kind of have very, very, we have a lot of similarities. And we're just looking at each other. It's like, yo, man, we went from covering LSU and Ohio State to this, And I really hope UNC turns it around. They have to. They absolutely have to. I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team. I think maybe they look better offensively with Max Johnson. That's a possibility. But, man, thank God TCU's like the second or third best team they can play on the schedule because but you got to move the ball down the field offensively. You got to score points. Of course, you got to keep other people from destroying you and scoring themselves. So, but oh boy. But anyway, that's going to wrap up the podcast today. I'm your host, Grant Chachere. Make sure to follow me at Chachere Grant on Twitter, bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Also, make sure to go follow Tar Heels on SI on Twitter, and also make sure to go do the same for Facebook. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'm going to go to bed because as I'm recording it, it's 4:25 in the morning. So, and Hubert Davis' first press conference of the season is tomorrow as well. So we'll also have updates for the podcast tomorrow on that as well. Or, yeah, I don't know. Tired, man. Peace.